Gareth Hughes.
Kia ora, Mr Speaker. Ngā mihi nui kia koutou kia ora. Sometimes words just can't convey the situation. All you can do, Mr Speaker, is face palm. Surely this is the definition of futility. The day after Trump's elected, Nationals passing the TPPA bill. You could not write this stuff, Mr Speaker. It encapsulates what a failure and a farce this entire 7-year process has been. The government, they never carried the public, they never carried martyrdom, they never got the significant tariff reductions they were promising, they never got the copyright balance, only the cost, they never got a guarantee on Farm Act, they never got a good deal on ISDS, they never then got a president who could ratify the treaty. What we did get though, Mr Speaker, is a movement opposed to putting corporate rights above citizens' rights, a movement standing up for the environment, a movement who said, yes, we must keep trading, but not at any cost and not in any deal that benefits corporate rights over citizens' rights. What we got was an alternative vision, a vision that rejects letting kids go hungry but buying Saudi sheep's farms in the desert. A vision which rejects letting tens of thousands of people sleep rough on the streets and in cars and in garages, but spending on expanding a casino. A movement that rejects letting people shiver in their homes, afraid to turn on the heating, so we can subsidise Rio Tinto, an oil company. It was a movement, a vision, a growing sense of hope and affirmation that we can have a fair society, a country that gives everyone a fair go, we can have a clean environment and a richer New Zealand. Mr Speaker, going forward, this government has spent 7 years invested in this trade deal, in the secrecy, the process. They don't have any other eggs in the other baskets. Mr Speaker, we need to learn some lessons. Firstly, we need to tell our officials who negotiate these deals, the politicians who try and negotiate them, in 2016 we can't do secrecy as a way to negotiate these global deals. We can't put corporate rights above citizens' rights. And you can't ignore things like climate change, which, as Barry Coates pointed out, wasn't mentioned once in the 6,000 pages. If we're going to have these so-called modern trade deals, we can't do them in secrecy, we can't keep the people down, and we can't ignore the environment. Because what happens is, the second lesson, which is what you see when you look at Trump and when you look at Brexit. Mr Speaker, Trump is an odious, hateful figure, but he's also a real vehicle for the real disaffection, the alienation, the marginalisation that results from an economic system that has thrown people on the scrap heap, that's burdened a whole generation with debt, who's locked them out of home ownership. These people are crying out for solutions, and sadly, they look in some of the strangest places to find them. Surely this must be the lesson. We can't keep running systems of which the TPPA was perhaps the most symbolic vehicle for this neoliberal revolution, which hasn't worked. It hasn't worked for the people, and it's being roundly rejected. So I hope the government can be a little introspective and look at what the failure was, because the solutions are staring them in the face. We can house our people, we can feed our people, we can clean up our rivers, we can reduce pollution, we can grow jobs, but it's going to happen working together, not by putting the corporate rights above the rights of the citizens. It's not by allowing corporations to sue governments if they try and regulate to protect the environment. It's not going to happen that way. It's going to happen through working together, and that's what we saw on the streets. The Green Party's been working for 7 years before it was popular. For 7 years we've had a clear position against this type of trade deal. We've set out an alternative process for what fair trade deals could look like. Because we know New Zealand is a country we can't trade just with ourselves, as one of our Prime Ministers once said, but we have to do it fairly. We have to do it in the national interest, we have to do it in the public interest, and that's what we'll be articulating. Because what we have done and what we see in this farce of passing the TPPA law the day after Trump was elected is we're crying out for a new way. We need to change the government.